We are live. Okay, awesome. So hopefully tech is working right now. I'm not going to be paying as much attention to the comments in just this moment. We're going to have a conversation, then I'm going to go back to the comments. So my name is Jen Vera. You're in my group, so you know who I am, Sales Embodiment Coach. I love supporting and empowering women around enrolling high ticket, the value of high ticket offerings, and supporting them up a level, both in their lifestyle and also like financially, which I think is a really, really massively big piece for women in particular. And with me is one of my clients and one of like just an amazing human being. And by the way, she's a reflector in human design, which is the rarest of all of the types. And it makes her an incredible and amazing leader and coach because she can really reflect like clearly the signs of the times, what's going on. And she and I are going to have a conversation about money mindset. I titled this Money Mindset During a Pandemic. And really what I see it is like a building on a healthy money mindset, even in times of crises. So you get to be like this with your money mindset versus like, roller coaster ride of emotions. So Christine, I'd love it if you shared a little bit about you, a little bit about your fascinating backstory with money and what you used to do and what you do now.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Christine Walsh, money coach and financial mentor to women entrepreneurs who are struggling with money at any given level in their business or their life, and helping them organize not only the finances on the paper, but also organize what's going on in the head around money. And money is emotional. I did not know that. And I went to business school for finance and accounting and grew up in New York City and worked on Wall Street for years. And then had my own financial debacle around the last recession, 08, 09. And that's when I realized that how much emotions and our energy and what we're thinking about money, how that impacts how we bring in money and how we deflect money and all of that. So I am really in our current times right now, realizing and seeing a lot of my clients or people around the world, just in general, friends, really get hung up, and there's money stories. We all have a money story, is impacting their well-being and our well-being. And we think of well-being like an emotional well-being or health, physical well-being. All of that is our financial well-being is part of that. And great money management and money mindset management is super important for us to be looking at as well. And if you were anything like me about 12 years ago, anything like this, when we're in crisis and sort of traumatic times, can put our heads in the sand and be the avoider, which is an archetype that I talk about a lot because there's so much going on. So it makes sense, of course, like that's one thing I don't need to look at right now. And if you have been an avoider, you might even notice you're avoiding it even more. So this is an invitation for us. And Jen, thanks for having me to open up the conversation. And that's really what my premise is with my work, is to open up the conversation around money, because money is one of those taboo subjects. It's up there with sex and maybe sales. I don't know, it's definitely one of those things like, oh, don't talk about that, or it's not spiritual to talk about that, or it's rude, or it's pushy, or it's aggressive, or something like this. And I know Jen and I align on a lot of things around the concept of flow and receptivity and this aspect of the feminine energy of money coming into our lives as a tool for greater good. And I think what's going on in the world today is giving many people, women and men, an opportunity to look at things differently. A light is being shown very bright on our financial stuff. It could be maybe about your health and well-being, but if finances are up, I'm grateful that you're here and you're listening, and I think we're going to have a little juicy conversation right now. So,
oh man, the juice is already there. Okay. So one of the things that you mentioned is money's emotional, and it's it's such like people are funny around money, you know. This is what I say all the time in sales too, because even people, the thing that they struggle with the most is the close, because they then all of a sudden start talking about money, and all of a sudden it becomes a personal thing. It becomes a place where there are a lot of stored past emotions, shame, all of this stuff. And I would love to hear from your perspective, why is money emotional? And like, how does someone know how to gauge what their emotions are around money? And if someone is in a place where their emotions around money isn't anything less than like, I love it, let's play, or like, isn't like in an energy rich space, right? Like, how do they go about changing that? And why is their money emotion set point the way that it is?
Well, just think about it. Money is emotional because a lot of times we haven't talked about it. We grew up, I mean, I grew up in a household where you just didn't talk about money. It wasn't a thing. It was rude to ask other people. So it sort of gets dampened down and hidden. And when you have that, it's almost like the beach ball that you're trying to keep under the water. Everything's emotional. And so if we're trying to keep something down and quiet and not talk about it, of course, shame perpetuates, guilt perpetuates. These emotions that are natural will start to come out in other ways. And it could come out in anger, it can come out in resentment. We are emotional beings. We are driven by emotions, and money is a part of that. And if we are not talking about it, we're dampening down our emotions, which are a natural thing for us to come up around. So just think about like your buying purchases, anything, could be something big, something small. It's usually based on an emotion, because that's a driver for us. There's desire there. I want that. Mm-hmm. And we've become quite numb to emotions. You know, there is that joke about coaching, therapy, and I know those are two different modalities, but like, how do you feel? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? Right. And has anyone asked, I mean, we just don't talk, like, how do you feel about money? And people be like, oh, we don't talk about that. So I think it's so emotionally charged because it has been a thing that we haven't really talked about that much.
Stuff down. Not allowed to talk about it. Not polite.
Yeah, exactly. So then it's the shadow. It's the shadow of money in a way. It then is something we don't talk about. And all the things are money stories. So you could call them money mindset, money stories, our money hangups, our money limiting beliefs. All of that come at a very important time in our life when we're between 0 and 7 years old. And we're like a sponge at that age. And whatever was going on in our families at that time, we're taking in. So if there was a time in your family's life where it was volatile, just emotionally, and maybe it was around money, maybe there was no money coming in, or maybe there was a lot of money coming in, but the way that your parents worked with it, that had a huge impact on you. And then that doesn't ever really come to the surface again. And so that's why I do the work I do, is to be able to have people in a safe space, container, to share all of this stuff that has gone on around money. And money touches every aspect of our lives. So that's another piece of that.
Yeah.
And you asked a couple other questions. So I can come to those, remind me what those are. It was about how can we become aware of it?
Yeah. And it seems like a little bit of an answer there was to stop stuffing it down and start having conversations about it.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'll go back to the avoider archetype. If you know you're an avoider and you're in this circle, like if you're in Jen's tribe, I highly imagine that you guys have some level of personal awareness and consciousness. And if you know when you're avoiding something, and you know when you're like, no, I want that off my plate, and I'm going to empower, but we're going to just decide to give it to someone else. So when it comes to money, people are like, oh, Christine, so does that mean I have to do my own bookkeeping? Do I have to do my own accounting? Not necessarily. It's about, as the awareness factor comes up, so we're all aware, okay, I have kind of been avoiding it, or I'm overspending, or more over giving, or I'm just angry about it, or whatever it is. Like, we can feel those emotions in our body. And then we get to a space, okay, do I want to own my own thoughts and feelings around this, or do I want to just keep stuffing it down? And that's a decision point. And choice is our superpower, always,
Yes.
any area of our lives, where we can start to say, you know what, I'm going to do something with this. So personally, around 08, 09, when I was going through my own financial perfect storm, what I called it, I was a financial controller for a real estate developer. I lost my job because real estate, it was such a real estate based recession. And then I lost a home to foreclosure. And I was supposed to be the money expert. So I knew something was wrong with, not so much with me, but I knew something was going on in my head that I was like, I need to straighten this out.
Yeah.
But I didn't know who to turn to. And I was embarrassed to be vulnerable that I didn't know my next step. However, I did know that I said, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be, I'm not stupid. I mean, I'm not like, don't know anything about money. What's going on? And my avoider pattern was to not ask for help and not ask for support around this. And so that was the decision for me to say, okay, I think I need some support around this. And people were like, go see a financial advisor, go to your bank and talk to an accountant or talk to your best friend. And none of that worked because from the financial services industry, it was very, like, you did that wrong, or, it actually perpetuated a lot of the shame around it. And then of course, friends who have their best interest in your mind, but had a lot of opinions on how to do it differently. I needed someone who it was a judgment-free area, and I could cry, I could laugh, who could actually walk me through some of this together. And I think that's after that awareness piece and accepting what's going on, because that's a huge piece around forgiveness and just self-compassion. And then getting aligned. Like, I don't know where to start next, but I'm going to look at my bank account every day for a few weeks and just see what happens. God, that was me. I wasn't even looking at my bank account. I was looking at my credit card, and I was supposed to be the money expert. So
I'm so happy that you bring that up, because there's a lot of things here. Like, one, I'm hearing like there can be a healing process through going into your own money mindset, and that it needs to be approached in a way that you would approach healing anything else, right? Like, which means not judgment-free zone, which means having compassion, which means having a level of forgiveness. And I love that you talk about yourself and you're like, I'm supposed to be the expert here, and I am in crisis. And I have this going on, because I think it's really affirming and validating to a lot of women out there, as me too, like, to know that someone who has been trained in this, someone who knows about this, struggled with money mindset. And this is just to say that we're not born with this skill set. And also, in my experience, and I talk a lot about this, like, as child, like a female child of immigrants, right, to this country, the standards that my family had for me in terms of financial and business acumen were very different than for my brother. My brother, like, works in finance, like, he understands that world. And in childhood, he would have conversations with my uncles who were entrepreneurs and businessmen, and he got a different education because he was a man than I did as a woman. And I think that's not just like immigrant story. I think that's a woman's story. And I think very, very often what we receive, and even when we receive that financial education like you did, going to traditional means of understanding money, like financial advisors, like, I've sat down with quite a few, and they're so condescending sometimes. Why haven't you done this? Like, and it totally feels like there's judgment. And one of the things I say in sales is you cannot influence that which you are in judgment of.
I love that saying.
Mindset. You can't influence what you're judging. Like, it creates a separation, and you can't like move that when there's a separation so big.
Yeah. And we, as human beings, we're wired for connection. That's why these times right now are so tough as we're going through what we're going through. In crisis, don't have necessarily somebody saying like, okay, and around our money stuff, if we have money issues going on, we don't necessarily have someone to say, no, you're going to be okay. It's going to be all right necessarily. We have to do that for ourselves. So I have this saying like, Prince Charming's not going to here to save you, right? Around money. We have to save us. And this isn't being like, all right, now I got to do some heavy duty lifting around all this. It's just saying like, I'm going to take ownership of this piece of my life. I know I don't need to know everything, but I'm going to just start with step one. Like maybe I'll read something financial and watch the emotions. We'll get into that space of like, oh, I don't want to do it, or that's where that emotion comes in, because that is a part of our humanity, is to be emotional. And the patriarchal way of doing money has been no emotion. You're too emotional, woman. And the opportunity now is to actually bring it in. Like, how do I want to have my emotions? Our emotions a driver. We don't want a house, a beautiful house to buy, to just have that house. We buy a house or a car or whatever, or a piece of clothing for how it'll make us feel.
100%.
And money is the vehicle to that.
Yes. And this is exactly what I'm going to go into too. Like, why do people buy? And people think that it's like, here, all of these features and benefits and like things to, soothe or convince the analytical mind. And you're 100% right. Like, people buy based off emotion. And like, I often use, this is a very triggering response for some people, or a triggering example for some people, which is why I love using it. It's like, I totally want a Maserati. Like, I want one. And do I want one because of the speed of the Maserati? Like, yes, I imagine myself like going down the highway, going really, really fast in this super like sexy car and feeling hot as fuck, and I want it because I feel like I will feel really successful if I have a Maserati, and I'll feel like really sexy if I have a Maserati. My desire for a Maserati has nothing to do with because analytically it's not very fuel efficient. Right. And I like to think I'm a fairly conscientious person, but people don't buy. And you can just see that over and over again. Like, what do people end up buying? It's not always like the thing that we should buy because it's, the right thing for us or the thing that's good. It's what we perceive we're going to receive emotionally from that. Like, I don't buy a diet plan out of okay, yes, I want to be healthy analytically, but I buy it based on the outcome of I want to feel really good. I want to feel energized. I want to feel this, and so it's not like all of the things that I'm going to have to cook in a month.
Yeah, so good. And I totally can see you in a Maserati. What color?
It's like a blue or like a kind of like a greenish type of
Love it.
Yeah, like a blue.
All in space for that, my girl. So
like navy blue, maybe, and then I want a tan leather interior.
Because of how it'll make you feel. Yeah. So exactly. Again, money is emotional, right? It's the driver. And once we get our arms around something like that, then the mindset can start to follow and get more aligned. Because if we're in resistance, just like you said, that your quote around judgment, we can't influence what we judge. That's resistance. Judgment is resistance. Judgment is fear. And if we have that around money, and it makes sense. We have had, what's the saying in your household? You kind of shared a little bit about growing up. Like, in my household growing up, money doesn't grow on trees. What do you think? I'm made of money. All of these just sayings that we inherit and just walk around the world with for if we don't question it, those limiting beliefs, those are money stories, until we said, well, does it grow on trees? And I'm like, well, I had this little experiment myself. I said, well, money is made out of paper and paper comes from trees. So wait a minute. money does grow on trees.
The government printed trillions of dollars.
There is more money right now because of what's going on in the stimulus package. They are literally printing money. Like money is being printed right now, and there's more money available to us. I don't know who's in business. I think most of your people here might be. There are the loans and the
you have to pay back.
Yes, exactly. Like there's more money now. So the contraction, it's the choice, right? Back to superpower of choice of, do I want to step into contraction or do I want to step into expansion? And if you have an inkling about this universe, it's about expansion. And it's about stepping into that. And even with this virus going on, which I totally appreciate people on the front lines and the suffering and the struggling that people are going through and the loss of jobs. And it does feel like maybe in your bank account, it doesn't look like it feels very expansive. I want to honor that. And I want to invite you to consider what expansive might feel like right now. If we're all kind of cooped in our home, it could be looking out. We were sitting out, my husband and I sitting out in the backyard and just watching the trees starting to bloom and watching like the expansiveness of growth. And even just recognizing abundance in your world, wherever that is. And because there is a lot of contraction right now and there is a lot of lack, but we as women, we as business owners need to step into a space of abundance. And I'll say abundance, love, expansion, however you want to think about it, creativity, for us to move forward through this. If we all align with scarcity and contract, then we're going to continue down that path. And that's even with selling, right? Like I'm sure you've had the conversations. Is it a good time to sell? It's an amazing time to sell. There is money out there. And I don't say that just to have money. It's not, having more money is not going to solve the money problem. It's not the solution to feeling better. It's a solution to happiness, but it's not the solution, because when we do that, then we base everything on money and that's the entire solution. We need to look at like, all right, where is abundance in my life already? Where is there certainty in my life already right now? And certainty is all around us. You know, I open up the cupboard. I know there's 99% of the time there's going to be a glass in there. Or, you know, I turn the light switch on 95% of the time, I think the light is going to go on. So for us to be able to start to switch this and again, putting new neural pathways in our head that say, you know what, it's not just about contraction. There's also, we live in a world of duality. So there's always going to be the flip side of the coin. Every problem, there's the solution is inherent. The solution's inherent in a seed in the problem. And we have a big problem right now. So what's that seed for everyone who's listening about the solution for their money or their business or their health and well-being, whatever it is?
I love that you say that. It's such a powerful way to think about it. It's the moment that you recognize the problem, the solution's already there. It's already there. It already exists. And
doesn't that like create a little like, okay,
there's ease.
Yeah. There's work involved but there's work to be in tension and fear as well. There's a lot. I mean, just think of, if you are in fear, you're most likely probably watching a ton of news and you got to keep up on all that. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to be in tension and contraction. And the same energy directed to that, if it's redirected towards abundance, expansion, while also holding, all right, there is contraction. That's equanimity. I feel like I'm getting fired up.
Love it. I love it.
Then it's, all right, you know what? There's expansion here too, because within we would only know contraction if we know expansion, and we can only know expansion if we know contraction.
Yep, so. Exactly. It's like an equal and opposite reaction, right? Like if there is this here, there's also this here.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite exercises that I learned at an immersion is they had us hold our hands out And so I encourage you, if you're at home, just hold your hands out. And they had us look to the left, and let's say the left is like everything that you want. It's the Maserati with the tan leather interior. It's, it's all the money that you want. It's everything that you want. Like the love, the abundance, the joy, the perfect garden, whatever it is that you want, it's over here in your left hand. And then if you look at the right, these are all of the issues. This is all of like the self-doubt. This is all of like, your focus on like your debt or what you don't have, or, the things that would hold you down, right? How much of like the left hand can you look at when you're looking at the right hand?
None.
Exactly. And so we get to choose. Like all of this comes down to choice and making an empowered choice. We get to choose what we're looking at. And there are so many, and like, my heart goes out to those folks that are just in like an emotional and energetic space where it's like very, depressed and feel like you can't move. And I see you and I'm sending you love and I appreciate you. And just know that in life, like at any given moment, we ask a higher quality question, like at this moment, what am I grateful for right now? And watch how quickly you can generate more positive experiences. They say that an emotion only lasts for a very short amount of time, like 3 seconds or something. I don't know exactly, but it's not a permanent state. And what happens is when we get into a more permanent state with our emotions, we're feeding that through our mind. We're feeding that through our thoughts. That's what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fascinating. My philosophy around money, success with business is it's about 90% energy management, mindset management, and 10% execution. And I know that's a vast difference, but we can get the strategy on board so quickly. And strategy, I mean, with money could be a budget. It could be business plan. It could be, where do I invest my money in retirement? It could be any of that. How do I pay down debt? That becomes real easy when we have the mindset on board that I can look at this. I can do this. Yeah. Maybe I need some support. Maybe I need some help, but you know what? I'm a smart person and I'll just start to poke at it. And I think curiosity is so there's 2 C's around money that I really invite everyone to feel into is curiosity. Like, why does money have to grow on trees or doesn't grow on trees, or whatever the mantra was going on in your household that you might have subscribed to, or, and then courage. And courage, it is a vulnerable area of our lives because it provides our most basic needs. So of course it's going to be, oh, you know what? I don't think I'm going to have enough. I'm going to be a bag lady on the street. And that becomes very daunting if I don't have that money flowing in.
Yeah.
So I ask everyone to get curious. What are the opportunities right now? And then the courage to take one step in that direction. And money miracles will happen with that combination of those C's.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Okay, Christine. So how can people follow their curiosity with you and take a courageous first step in examining this and in like breaking through this?
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking and allowing me to share. And thanks everyone for listening. So a couple of ways, I have several ways. So on my web page, Christine M. Walsh, so that's CHRISTINE, M as in money, Walsh.com, WALSH. There are some freebies on there, which are great. There's the Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Knowing Your Money, which I think is a great resource for what's going on now. There is the Money Archetype Quiz, which I created and is a awesome way to see where your default pattern is around money and tools to unwind it. And then there's the Abundance Tracker, which just is all about receiving and receptivity. So thrash around on there. And then I have a program starting actually this Monday, and all this time of uncertainty, I went ahead and launched my Be the Queen of Your Money program. So it is an 8-week online program. It's live. I am the host. I will be there. It's an amazing blend between the group work where transformation can happen so quickly around this money piece. So when we are in group, we have created our money stories in relationship to other people, and we can unwind them very quickly in relationship to other people. So group work around money is a fabulous way to unwind these stories quickly. And that's what we're doing, is dismantling and then stepping into a new identity around money. And that is of this archetype of the queen, which I chose as a symbol of self-advocacy. Sovereignty is around self-respecting ourselves around money. It's about compassion. It's about fluidity of money that comes to me. There's a great Bob Proctor quote. I give graciously and I receive graciously. Both, if we need both of that. So there's a bunch of that work, as well as financial fundamentals, which is around debt, spending plan, things that we didn't learn in school that I wish or if I didn't, I should say, what does revenue look like in your business? What is expenses? What's profitability mean? How do we create more profitability? How do we allocate? So very strategic piece of that, because that's my background, and it takes two to tango. So a lot of individual support. It's a small group. I have 10 women in it. I'm looking for about 10 to 15. So I have some more spots available. And again, it starts on Monday, and all the details we'll put that in the comments.
We'll put that in the comments.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And what I love about your program, and specifically why now is a really good time to go into money mindset, is because all of our stuff is coming up so much right now. The uncertainty that we feel around money, like, newsflash, it wasn't there all of a sudden with this pandemic. It was there beforehand. And as you're surfacing these things, having that curiosity, and I love the word curiosity because it's not judgment. It's not like, shaming yourself or being down on yourself for thinking about this. It's just like, I wonder why I have this set point with money. I wonder why I have this emotional response with money. I wonder why I feel afraid to sell right now. I wonder why this is here. And then having the courage to look at it is really, really powerful. And now is such a great time to do this, because how do you want to choose to come out of this? How do you want to choose to have a relationship with money moving forward? And what would that do for your life if you felt at peace, if you felt a sense of certainty, if you were able to predict your revenue for the next month? How might that impact your business in terms of creating team, in terms of just feeling stable and at peace? And peace is a big piece. Peace is a big piece. Peace is a big reason that people buy. People will do crazy things just for a little bit of peace of mind.
Right.
For instance, my dog ate a lamb bone. No, it was a pork bone. And it was, I freaked out, totally freaked out, because I'd never seen him so sick. And he's my baby, because I'm 36 and childless and have a dog. And all of my maternal instincts and energy go towards my dog. And, my peace of mind, I totally went to the vet emergency, spent $350 and just get him the x-rays, everything, obviously, he was fine, thank God, and if I didn't take him to the vet, he probably would have been fine. But that I didn't feel anything about spending that money, because that peace of mind to me was worth so much more than having the anxiety for the next 3 days.
Right.
As he's feeling lazy or not his normal self. And so don't downplay having peace of mind during these times. It is worth every single cent. So I highly recommend, if this is calling to you, if you are feeling like Christine is the person to support you. And not only, you know, just my work with her, she is like incredibly kind and compassionate and non-judgmental, and everything that she talks about here she brings, and she has like massive financial acumen. Like, so I mean, it's just like a beautiful combination of both that heart and that strategic brain and that expertise when it comes to this subject. And I'm so happy that you're here, and so happy that this is going to provide a lot of value for those of you watching. So check out the comments once we comment on there, and yeah, thank you, Christine. This was super.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your support. And thanks everyone for listening. And I'd love to, you know, support anyone on their money journey now or down the line. So stay in touch. And the veil is very thin right now for change. And there is a lot of opportunities out there for everyone to come together and do money differently, do life differently. We are not going back to normal. This is a new normal. And I think Jen's question about how do we want to come out of this? What do you want to see at the end of all this? And there is going to be an end. I trust me, there is an end to this. And we're not done, because another day we'll be here. And it is a time to examine what shadows in our life have been holding us back, and that we get to then transcend that. And I just can't, with money, it's amazing, an amazing time to do this work. So thank you for letting me be here, and
Thank you.
Great conversation.
Awesome. All right, everyone, check out the comments and we'll see you later. Bye.